I've learned a lot of things doing Farscape because by my nature I don't do many things for more than a year at a time, certainly in my adult life. So I had a renewed adolescence of sorts. I learned to be patient. I learned to take risks. And I learned sort of to be a little kinder on myself. I had a lot of support from people, Anthony Simcoe and Ben Browder and Gigi, everyone really, who were the tight-knit group that was the core cast of Farscape. We were all very good to one another, and so I learned that actors can be wonderful. I mean, I've always been drawn to performers, and sometimes you do have those negative experiences where you come across someone who either doesn't take the profession seriously or they've been spoiled, and we were just blessed. So I learned to love a lot of people on Farscape, and they made it very easy. And technically, I mean, it was the most overwhelming environment to work in, and when a lot of guest actors would come on, we had to remind ourselves that it was new to them and that they were probably overwhelmed when they came on to the sets. There are the animatronic creatures like Rigel and Pilot, 6 people at Rigel's feet to make him work, to bring him into the room, to do the eyes, the ears, the voice, to then be voiced over by another actor. Green screen, practical effects on set, fireworks, bombs going off. It was crazy. So I learned to multitask a bit. And yeah, technically as an actor I've had more time on a set of that kind than a lot of people. So it was an absolute blessing in terms of being a learning ground. I've done quite a lot of work in all the various media for actors. I started in a theatre and musical background, and started, I think, the way that I got my first theatrical agent. She heard me singing, and shortly after that she took me on. I did some commercials, and then what followed was quite a lot of work in television. Didn't do theatre for quite a while, and then when I finally did, it was Merchant of Venice, a tour through Europe. And then back again to television, and over the last few years it's been a bit of an overlap between film and television only. And this is the 3rd lead female role I've done on a television series. One was filmed in New Zealand, one was in Australia. It was my first sort of big role, my first big break, as they say. That was a nurse, Claire Bonacci, who was sort of a very ditzy girl, very different to the character Aeryn that I play on Farscape, or played, I should say. And the middle one was a lawyer. So I've always played very interesting roles, but certainly over the last few years, very strong ones. And science fiction certainly seems to be the genre for strong lasses. People, when I went through periods of unemployment, would say, and I've been very fortunate, they haven't been very long, well, it is the life you've chosen for yourself, Claudia. And I say, well, far be it from me to compare myself with someone like Mozart or Beethoven, but I think when you are an artist, I don't think you wake up one morning and say, okay, got to decide today, am I going to build houses or am I going to be a composer? I think there's something innately in you that you need to express. And I think that was very clear to my kindergarten teacher, who cast me in my first lead role. And I did a lot of amateur productions through school, and some semi-professional ones with a brother school of ours that had, it was a very exclusive boys' school, so we were very fortunate to be involved with them. And that's pretty much how I learned to sing and act, treading the boards there at a school. And my parents had a heart attack when I told them that I wanted to pursue it professionally, but they were supportive at the same time. They just knew that it was a very difficult field to get into and to succeed in, but I think they're very proud now, especially with Farscape, because it's something that their friends have seen as well on television. So it's always been something I've wanted to do. I've always loved the music as well. And I can't do anything else. I'm a terrible waitress, so it was acting or nothing. Whatever I do, I suppose the ethos that I've been brought up with, or what I've carried with me, is the fact that whatever I do, I just want to do it the best that I can. But I've been cursed by being a lazy perfectionist, which is a terrible combination. So I chose the acting because I knew it was something that I couldn't afford to waste other people's time as an actor, so I had to be very diligent. So it's taught me an incredible amount of discipline. And while I'm trying to take everyone else seriously, I'm trying to take myself a little less seriously in the process. Farscape was, we were in a rare situation filming Farscape because we were on the other side of the world, primarily making it for the Sci-Fi Channel and for the BBC and other European territories. And I think because of Australians by nature, we had a tone of irreverence that was threaded through the whole series, which we may not have had elsewhere. And also we were blessed because the Sci-Fi Channel gave us a lot of rope, really. They wanted it to be sassy, they wanted it to be intelligent and sexy and original, and we rose to it, really. And it's now great talking to directors who say that we've changed them and the way that they work, because they're now expecting actors in auditions to come up with suggestions and to have ideas. And a lot of actors in Australia expect to be mollycoddled and to be looked after and have the director give them a lot of attention. And what we learnt on Farscape was to make informed and hopefully intelligent choices on our own and self-direct in a way, because they had so many other elements to take care of while they were directing, which directors often don't have to deal with. But with CGI and the animatronics and all those sorts of things, we were really fortunate that as actors we were able to make a lot of decisions on our own. But also when we did make suggestions, and the directors would embrace them. And David Kemper pretty much sets the tone of the show as well in that regard. And Ben took over when he was on set, Ben would run the set in a way that was highly collaborative, and it helps when the actors are intelligent. To have a lead actor like Ben, who's generous and bright, makes for a really productive working environment, so we were very lucky. Poor Aeryn has gone through so much on this show, and it was part of the appeal of taking the role in the first place. I just felt that she had an incredible arc, potentially. And that was probably realised in season 3, which was the hardest year for Aeryn emotionally, and for me as an actor, an incredible opportunity. So in that season, Aeryn, I'm trying to remember how we start season 3, but she chooses to go over to Talon with one of the Crichtons who's been cloned, falls in love with him, meets her mother, who is chasing after her, has to walk away from her mother's assassination because she knows that her mother has to be killed, only to find after John has died, the love of her life, practically in her arms, that her mother is still alive. So I'd say in the choice, Aeryn goes through such an incredible myriad of emotions, but seemingly is so numb that she can't even take on the magnitude of it. And so I suppose finally in season 3, yielding and allowing herself to fall in love, having him die, meeting her mum, it not going terribly well, then dropping her mum off the side of a building after she accidentally gets shot by Crace, and then having to reunite with the other John. I'd say those things were the most major parts of her development, and they all happened in season 3. Apart from meeting him in the first place and no longer being able to be a peacekeeper, that's probably the other milestone.